Welcome to Virtual TrekCon 3.
Hi, I'm Thomas SURPRENANT, Emmy Award-winning makeup artist. Some of my credits include Star Trek Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager, Enterprise, Generations, and First Contact.
Hi, I'm Curtis Fortier. I'm an award-nominated actor, and maybe you've seen me in things like the Ronald Moore TV show For All Mankind. You can check me out on Amazon Prime. There's two movies, one called Secret Santa, one called Tethered, or my own web series, 12-Sided Die, that I wrote and starred in. And you can also check me out in the amazing sci-fi horror film Fifth Passenger, directed by Scott Baker. So, yeah.
What are we doing today?
We're going to be doing a TNG Romulan. So I've got glasses off, please.
Oh, they didn't. That's right. These Romulans had retinox, so they didn't.
So this is the forehead, and then of course it's going to get a couple ears, and so I'm going to prep everything. The glue that I use is Telus number 8F from Premier Products. Check them out online. Amazing silicone prosthetic adhesive. It's breathable. It's stays on until you take it off, which is a good thing. And it's easy removal.
So what was it like if you were doing this like in the 70s? I mean, I'm sure the technology has come leaps and bounds since then. Was it just like basically a piece of plastic on your face and with crazy glue?
No, foam. Don't ever say that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, because some kids have actually used that. And
you should not put crazy glue on any part of your body.
And so in the 70s in the makeup world, we had spirit gum. That was kind of the weapon of choice as far as adhesives go, and it was okay. It did the job. I mean, we pretty much just used spirit gum for lace pieces, like the eyebrows we're going to glue on top of this. So basically, this adhesive. It's flexible. It's a silicone medical adhesive. On Star Trek, we actually use something called 355 medical adhesive, and it was thinned with trichloroethane, which is a fluorocarbon and has been banned for use. Not saying that big companies still don't use it, but that's big companies paying tariffs, and we have to pay for that as well. Anyway, so. This is a really close facsimile to that original medical adhesive, silicone medical adhesive. Dow actually made that. So I just put thinned Telus number 8F all over. I put it through the eyebrows, as you can see. And I'm just going to take a little bit here. It's a contact style adhesive. And if we were doing this on the show, you probably would have had a 3:47 a.m. call, or I would have had a 3:47, and you would have been there a half hour later or whatever.
Right.
I think we were allotted, for Romulans, I think it was like a 2-hour makeup, and then an hour, to get wigged and wardrobe was another, I don't know, another 45 minutes or some nonsense like that. I'm going to use some RCMA no color powder and kind of brush that on the prosthetic piece that I already have glue on, and it's just taking the tack away. Doesn't make sense, but it does. Okay, and I'm just going to re-wet this area here and try to get this centered. Okay. You can talk while I do this.
Okay. How much time did you had? Did they allow you to take it all off at the end of the day?
However long it took,
Okay,
basically.
gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, a funny story. I was supposed to get an early out because I had company from out of town visiting.
Sure.
And I was, living in LA at the time and stuff like that. So, it was me and this other guy doing the very first Vidians from Voyager.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they were pre-painted, which saved a lot of time. They were basically full head masks that glued down, and well, it's Friday, and this guy ended up taking off and leaving me in charge of not just my makeup, but his as well. And it was like, I was supposed to be the one to go home early. Oh, well. So I took my guy out, not a problem taking his makeup off, The other guy had something we called, well, back then we called it Bondo stipple. It was made from Prosthetic medical adhesive, which is a acrylic kind of medical adhesive, and fumed silica, like that was mixed to make a paste. I use something called Beta Bond, which I prefer because it has less water content. It's all makeup jargon, but anyway, it's this thickened acrylic adhesive, and he had it mushed in his eyebrows.
Ugh.
And so, the guy wanted to keep his eyebrows, so it took me a very long time to work it out of his eyebrows, and it was kind of a nightmare for all of us involved. And like our second AD was up saying, why hasn't your actor clocked out? I'm like, here, I'll show you why. And then her boss, our first AD, came up and was flipping out. It's like, you guys are still on the clock. This is costing money. And I'm like, this is why. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. I'm kind of sorry too. Anyway, so, but yeah, we hadn't take these people out. And the thing is, on some cases, like on First Contact, you had a makeup artist who came in early, got the Borgs in their makeup, and we watched them all day long and did their touch-ups and stuff. But so we wouldn't get massive overtime, and we could make our turnaround. They would send us home and hire people to come in and maintain our makeups that we did that morning and take them out of makeup that evening whenever they were done shooting.
You've done, Tom, that we would know of?
Oh gosh, Romulans and Vulcans. Well, on Star Trek Generations, did the dead Romulan in that really brief, eyes closed please, that brief scene where Michael Dorn as Worf rolls him into camera and goes, Romulans. And we're going to have a little surprise. You're getting 2 makeups for the price of 1.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Yes. So I'm going to do a regular Romulan makeup that we would have done on TNG or DS9.
All right.
And let's see. And then I'm going to recreate the best I can with what I have, the dead Romulan. Now, here's a little interesting fact.
All right.
I might as well tell the story now.
Sure.
All right. So we're Generations. I know on the other virtual Trek cons, I mentioned about how I was called in for Deep Space Nine, and it was like the season finale, and we were finishing up. It was the series finale for Next Gen, and we were doing some Generations shooting, and it was mostly the stuff with like Whoopi's people being pulled out of the Nexus or whatever, and all that stuff. Anyway, the Enterprise B, the ill-fated launch of the Enterprise B. Anyway, so I was called on one show, but it was like, we need you over here. We need you over there. And it was like, juggle. It was really odd, but it was fun because it kept you busy. You weren't just sitting there, it was wonderful. I was young and I was on my toes, and it was great. And, had the dream job working on Star Trek, being a Star Trek fan. Unlike some people who worked on the shows. Anyway, so...
They just weren't fan, or they had never seen it?
They didn't care. They weren't into sci-fi.
Gotcha.
They weren't, they didn't, yeah. And so it was just a makeup job. But,
I see. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so Mike's talking to me about some of the stuff that, was coming up. Like, there's this one character I did on DS9. She was a background character, and she was a Bolian, the blue bisection. You can open now.
Okay.
The blue bisection of people.
Yeah.
And so what happened
Like
is...
Mr. Mott.
Yes. And she was going to be on the Enterprise and 10 forward for a scene. And then Mike and I were talking, and he's like, we've got a dead Romulan. And I don't know if that was thrown in last minute. He's like, we want him damaged and stuff. And I'm like, well, how about a phaser type weapon on kill, like doing some damage and stuff, but not disintegrate and everything, of course, because they want a body.
Right.
And and Mike was saying about the eye and the side of his face, and I'm like, I happen to have a piece that I did for this little C. Thomas Howell movie for an actor named Rudy Ramos, and it was a movie shotgun blast. A real shotgun blast would tear your head off that close. Scene as Rudy Ramos looks into a peephole in a door, and the barrel comes up on the other side of the door and blows him away. Anyway, so this is the piece, still with flashing. This is actually from the mold. And so I got to sell a few of these to Mike. And I also had the side of the face, which I don't know where that mold is. But I have an idea for Star Trek fans out there. Please contact me. You'll have my contact information provided. But I was thinking about doing a display piece with one of these. The mold is on its way out, and I want to retire it. So there's the eyepiece. I was thinking about mounting this on a nice board, framing it with a picture of the dead Romulan and my autograph. So basically, this just fit over like that. And so we'll do that. After we do normal, alive Romulan, we'll do really messed up dead Romulan.
Gotcha.
So this is...
And now, just so everybody out in Trekland can know, and right now it feels like that. It definitely feels secure, but my skin feels taut. Is that supposed to be?
I did a little tug on here.
Okay.
Because these eyebrow pieces, they hook down here, like right into the socket.
Right.
And as the day would go on, it just would.
Okay.
And so you felt tired. So I would always put a little bit of a tug because your skin will naturally just kind of...
Sure. Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
And these prosthetics and everything, this is designed to wear 14, 15, 16 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. This is foam latex like we used on the show. I know everyone loves their silicone and everything's silicone now. One of the things that I really love about foam is it's breathable.
Okay.
It's lightweight, where silicone isn't breathable, and
What's the advantage of silicone?
it's translucent.
Oh, okay.
And it's great for ears. Noses. But the big argument is it's time. People say that there's less. Sorry, I've got to reach back.
Oh, yeah,
behind you. This is Beta Bond from Premier Products. I'm gonna need another shot of that.
Sure.
There we go. So what happens is, silicone. The big argument is you don't have to paint as much with it. You can just flick some color on it with an airbrush, and away you go, because you can intrinsically color it and blah blah blah. And it's not like I don't like silicone. I think it has its purpose, but for some stuff, especially like big head stuff, like some of those big heavy prosthetics, or like the mask, like Jim Adar's. It's like I couldn't imagine somebody running around in California heat wearing a silicone Jim Adar. The wardrobe alone was pretty killer.
Right.
So I just got off of the Star Trek cruise, and I was talking with some of our actors about like some of the locations, and like when we would start the season, it would be like August.
Right.
And anyone who's been to LA in August knows how miserable that can be.
Yeah.
And, Cardassians, their neoprene suits, not breathable, fringy even. It was upholstery fabric, it's just not breathable, uncomfortable.
And you're on location.
Yeah, and even when you were on the back lot, you as soon as you left an air-conditioned soundstage, you were in the sweltering heat, and then there was all the the paved, black tar paved streets. It just it was.
So can you sweat in this? Did that mess up, like if somebody came back from walking outside and they were just drenched in sweat, does that affect the foam or the silicone?
Well, silicone, once again, it's not breathable, and so you'll start getting like little ruptures where it's glued down, where it's loosened itself, and you'll start getting little sweat beads and stuff. Foam, and this particular adhesive, you can actually breathe. Your skin can breathe, and I've been on shows where the actor is in like a Jim Adar thing, and you'd squeeze the prosthetic and sweat would come out, and you're like, "Ew, that was nasty."
Wow.
So now, everyone glues ears differently, and I remember the first time I glued the ear. This is just a little hint to any hobbyists out there who are doing some cosplay. I would put glue in the ear, and then glue on the ear, and then right when I would get to this point, it would stick, and it would just be ears don't really sweat like the rest of you. Note, get some alcohol, on a cotton bud and clean out the ear, because they're a little waxy sometimes, or, there's just a little bit of slipperiness going on. So what I would do is I would actually put the ear on and take a bent adhesive brush and put the glue on underneath, kind of snake the brush underneath. I'll be showing you how to do that. Just a little bit more thinner. Okay, so this is thinned medical adhesive again. Let's see, tilt this way. So there's no glue. So what I'm going to do is hold this up and then snake the brush underneath here, as you can see. And I'm trying not to get the actual edge of the prosthetic. I'll leave that to the last. And then I'll anchor it down. Okay. I'm tilting this way a bit. There we go.
Sure.
How do you tell a Vulcan ear from a Romulan ear?
Oh, now on next gen, some of the ears that we had were really thick. They weren't really thin, and it's odd. I mean, and I think, I don't know if it was done deliberately or just trying to get away from what they looked like. But then when Leonard Nimoy came back, you know, he was very specific. He's like, no, the ears go really forward. They're, you know, and so a lot of those early ears in the early years, thank you. They were thick. You know, they were kind of textury and anyway, by the time we started doing stuff on Voyager and Enterprise, the Vulcan ears and the Romulan ears were really nice and, you know, sleek the way they used to look, you know, and so yeah, I you know, I always kind of equate Romulans having bulkier ears than Vulcans. But I don't know if that's actually factual. I think that's just a product of the environment of you know, what was available on the show in the ear box at the time.
When you were doing Borg, how much license did you have? Because obviously a Borg had to be some previous species. How much of a license did you have to, okay, that Borg's going to be a Klingon, this Borg's going to be a whole species we haven't seen, this Borg's going to be a Romulan? I mean...
It's funny you bring this up because I'm sure I talked about this on the previous two.
Oh, sorry.
No. I actually did the very first Klingon Borg.
Okay.
And I would love to, you know, if we do another one of these, maybe we can get Wayne King Jr. to sit and let me do that to him again. But we have to do it in August when it's like 120 degrees, you know, because, yeah.
Yeah, call him for that one.
Yeah, because, you know, who doesn't like a little makeup PTSD? Anyway, no, on First Contact, that's when we first started seeing the different races. Like,
right.
If you look at the first Borg, they were really different. You know, they had like those Lycra suits or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Bits and bobs
Yeah.
attached, however, haphazardly, you know. But, you know, they were different. And they were pasty. They were dry. And that was the thing. I remember doing one and Mike's like, they gotta look dry. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, here comes First Contact and they're wet and juicy and nasty looking and... You know, like you know you're going to catch something from one of them, you know. And that's when we started doing, we had a bullion, we had, oh God.
I remember seeing that and thinking, what a clever touch. I mean, you know, it just added a, you know, it added history to those, because you're like, oh, that's a Vulcan Borg. How did that happen? I mean, it was great. And
on... It was a Voyager episode. We had a Romulan Borg, and yeah, I mean it's weird. It's odd, like the whole Romulan Vulcan dynamic and everything. And being a Star Trek fan from way back in the beginning, it's interesting how things have arced and got away from Gene's vision and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I remember on Enterprise doing some zombie Vulcans. And once again, on this cruise that I was just on, the Star Trek cruise, it was so great. Like, I was doing fan makeups. And being a fan myself, we were talking. They're like, so blah, 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 you know, what was, you know, your first Vulcan or whatever? And I'm like, I think my first Vulcan may have been the zombie Vulcans, you know. which that was the set that we had for that was kind of wicked cool. It was definitely like a haunted house kind of set. They had like the light, this lighting effect, so it was like it would literally make a crackling sound.
Wow.
And it was flashing, and it was very dramatic and smoky as hell, though. That's
What about tell me about the Vidians, because that always seemed like a
the
really
Vidians.
involved makeup. Because
hands, we did hands, and it was a pullover, and then I think we had like a lip piece, and they were actually
they're pretty standard.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, compared to something that needs a lot of work, like with the Romulans, forehead, it's ears, it's wig, it's eyebrows. Klingon, it's a forehead, it's a nose. Bolian, one of the most difficult, because if you centered anything wrong, it looked like a crooked highway. That bisectioned alien, thing going on there, that line, it was a back of it, like an occipital piece that went up to here. So that was like one piece, and then the forehead. And I think we ended up doing it so it was all one piece to here.
Okay.
It had to be perfect. And so the person sitting there really had to have their posture, and you had to check it in the mirror and visually. So at 3:00 in the morning, no one is like perfect posture. It was those. So it was this piece that went to here: forehead, nose, underneath nose, lower lip, chin, throat, and then the earlobes and eyebrow covers.
Wow.
It was a tremendous amount of work.
Wow.
So, yeah, out of makeups, that one really, that was a back-breaking makeup. Cardassians just did one on the last virtual TrekCon on Tracy Coco. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's available on YouTube. You can check that out.
Were you ever involved in designing? And if they say, we want this to be they kind of give you the
credit to my boss.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Westmore is the supervisor designer for the show, but he would come to us and work with us. He would be like, okay, so there's a species of aliens, blah blah blah, warlike, yada yada. They need to look mean,
Okay, all right.
And so we would come up with like different sculptures and do like the dog and pony show in Rick Berman's office, which was terrifying because it's Rick Berman, and you would go in there and he'd be behind his desk and you'd be holding a sculpture, and he'd be like, no. A little like that, and it's like, okay, so back to the drawing board, and Mike Westmore was very interactive with his artists that he hired, and was lovely to work with, and it was, for me, it was, a huge honor, because this is, the Mike Westmore, excuse me.
Right.
Sorry. And my granddad always spoke so highly of him, but, my granddad worked with many of the different Westmores, but those are other stories. Anyway, so, but like, my granddad worked with Mike on a film called Capricorn 1.
Oh!
If you haven't seen Capricorn 1, I suggest watch it, because
Sam Waterston,
O.J. Simpson, somewhere. I've got to find him, because I've been packing a bunch of stuff, and I have a ton of photos with my granddad and like, the James Brolin and Sam Waterston, but like OJ, because my grandfather was a huge sports fanatic, like there's pictures of like OJ hugging my grandmother and stuff like that. And
Jim, we can't have a screw up. And sure enough, what we had is a grade A American screw up. Turns out the people from Con American wanted to make a little money. Nothing wrong with that. Turns out they made a little bit too much money. We had a life support system that wouldn't work. You'd all be dead in 3 weeks. Congress would cancel the program. The president would still have his desk. And we'd have we'd still have a program.
It's amazing you remember that.
I know there's that scene, and then the scene where they reveal where they take the 3 astronauts into the set.
Mm-hmm.
I do those 2 scenes as showcase scenes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
because they're huge technical scenes, and because the one's a monologue, and then the one is
my granddad brought me to CBS in the Valley, if I'm not mistaken. God, it's been 8. I was a little kid. And my granddad took me to the set, and it was the NASA control set.
Yeah.
And then the set with the Martian lander, and
oh yeah.
so I actually got to go and see all that. And he's like, "Don't touch anything."
No, that's a great scene. Yeah. He brings them in, and God, I'm trying to think of how it. I can think of the monologue. Brew, how long have we known each other? 15 years, Brew. 15 years. You were, you look like just fresh off of a Wheaties box, and me all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I wanted to go to the moon, and I wish I could do the monologue right now. Crap. I haven't done it in a couple of years.
I highly suggest everyone watch it. It's great because
Hal Holbrook is amazing.
Hal Holbrook's so evil in it.
Oh.
And I hate seeing Hal Holbrook play a bad guy because
he's the perfect person to play that bad guy because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't expect that. He's like grandfatherly, you know.
Yep.
But I love that movie, and I think it really speaks to how, you know, like the trust of the government kind of thing.
Oh, yeah,
but if you look at, like, going back in the 70s, people started questioning things. I mean, we had Watergate. Kolchak, the Night Stalker, one of my favorite things growing up as a kid. I mean, that was all about, you know, the powers that be. It was pre-X-Files, you know. And you know, trust no one. But Capricorn 1 is such a great film, and
oh yeah,
and I really think it does hold up.
It does. It completely does. Elliot Gould's in it.
Yeah, I got to work with him briefly, and I was just kind of like, that's Elliot Gould. I was so kind of starstruck, and I got to work with Hal Holbrook. And which was exciting because I've been a fan of his, you know, from so many different things. But
yeah, I can't get those monologues out of my head now.
That's so random that I just mentioned that. And,
no, I always wanted to do those monologues as showcases because one of them's a huge monologue, and then one of them is it's the one where it's the reveal, and he basically says to him, "Look, I want you guys to be on board, but whether you say we're gonna do it." And again, I don't mean to spoil it, but
spoilers.
But the big
Too late.
the big reveal, he you know, where Brubaker goes, you know, we're not going to go along with it, and he's like, well, you have to. What do you mean we have to? Well, your families. And then there's just this gasp in the room. Oh, come on, Brew. What do you think? They're grown-ups dealing with this. Grown-ups. What are you talking? What are you talking about? There's a device on the plane. If they don't get an all-clear signal, they're like, oh, it's Shakespearean. That's how chilling it is.
Yeah. It's odd that a lot of people have never seen this.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we're nerding out about this movie.
And it's not even Star Trek.
Movie, not even Star Trek. No, but
But my old boss, I did that show. And so, okay, now, there's a fabulous company, and every time I mention them, RCMA, Research Council of Makeup Artists, okay? This is called LN1.
Okay.
That was created for... Thank you.
There we go. That makes sense.
Yes, and so my company does a prosthetic paint version of it, and so that's me. you'll get all the information and stuff like that. So if you want to do a proper Romulan or Vulcan makeup, you have to have the right colors. That's one thing I noticed at like these Star Trek conventions and sci-fi conventions and the boat I was just on. Some people who are cosplaying, the colors weren't right. And for me, I was there and it just hurts, like there's a color called Andor Blue I make, and it was a color that Mike Westmore had me make for the Andorians on Enterprise. And, I saw some Andorians that were almost purple on board, and I'm like, okay.
No, maybe it's a
Andorian with a tan?
There you go.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so, but, it's make-believe. Okay.
Excellent.
All
What was your first professional job? First was it before Star Trek or was
Oh,
Star
God,
Trek?
yeah.
Okay.
No, I had a career before Star Trek. What was the first thing
Or one of.
well, I think it was Return of the Living Dead 2.
Okay.
Which, once again, that was kind of a big deal for me because I was like, oh my God, I love the first one, being a punk rocker and all into punk music and loving the soundtrack and, yeah. So, yeah.
That's cool.
So I'm just getting like the base coat on right now.
Okay.
Because with Romulans, we were able to add more of the green accents.
Okay.
Which I noticed like on Vulcans we didn't as much. It was distinctive. Like the wigs and stuff, like Spock had like the straight cut. But like if you notice, Romulans have always had more of a dip there, even before the forehead prosthetic. So...
Well, they couldn't be exactly the same. There needed to be some, I guess, cultural differences, or maybe even, even over the centuries or millennia since.
Yeah,
since
I forgot
they split apart.
I forgot the timeline, but it really wasn't, as it wasn't like, a million years. It was only a few thousand years, I think, or something like that. Yeah, it wasn't a huge time thing. But yeah, I just started seeing like this thing on YouTube about theories and things like that, and it's odd. Like, when Nemesis came out, I was like, why are the ramen? Why are the why are the ramen so different? They look like vampires. I mean, they look like something from Buffy. It's it's a big movie. They've got money. But I don't know. I always had my idea what like Romulus and Remus would look like. It wouldn't, have been that drastic, but that's not movie making,
How has this changed with like the onset of all the HD and IMAX? I mean, where like every detail is just blown up. Did you have to be more? Is it?
Yeah, that's another reason some people like silicone over foam is because they say that the edges are better and stuff like that. I've been on shows where I've had, edges on silicone that weren't great, or they happened later during the day, and I'm like, oh, great. Because it's a vinyl encapsulator. And as the day goes on, depending on a person and their skin, yada, yada, temperature, whatever, it can start breaking down, and then you start getting crappy edges. Now you're playing catch up.
Gotcha.
But yeah, foam's sturdy. I do love my foam, but anyway, yeah, HD. It's interesting how, like when Voyager went HD, like how things had to change, and like watching TNG in HD. God. TNG and HD, you can see things, but that's not a fan of doing prosthetics in HD. No, but yeah, it's made a huge difference. Like sculpting, mold making, like the whole process of fabrication has, had to, come up with the technology and become better.
Yeah, because it can't look like you're wearing foam. It can't look like you're wearing a prosthetic.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
So then you had to paint each Romulan and each Vulcan then. Mm-hmm. Right? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like there was a character in Quark's bar called Morn.
Morn, oh yeah.
He was a pre-painted foam mask that the actor would wear. And you just did makeup around the eyes and mouth. Vidian's pretty much the same. They were pre-painted. And, oh gosh. I bring this up and it's funny. I've been told that certain people from the show now are saying it didn't happen. And it's like, yeah, it did. We reused things. Like the Morn head would last a season or two. And, we would sanitize it and, wring the sweat out of it and all that stuff. And, and it was the same actor wearing it. But, other things, they would be pre-painted and just random background people would be in it. And, yeah, it's kind of gross. So, now what I would have done is probably done the entire face in a watered down version of my prosthetic paint.
Okay.
Because it will stay on and not come off. In fact, I am going to drag it down onto the face just a little bit.
All right.
Really getting into it.
When I was a kid, I remember watching it on Channel 10 in Grand Rapids, and it's a channel that didn't come in very well, so you had to watch it between the squiggly lines and stuff like that. But I just remember, but the colors, the red, the command yellow, and the blue, they always really came through, and that caught my attention. And then once you actually watch the show, you even as a kid, I'm like, well, this is amazing. And then once you started, like, you would go to the bookstore and you would see that there were novels and you're like, there's other stuff, and and I was just so excited because it was all, at the time for me, it was all one consistent universe. So it was so it was I had to be like 7, I mean, but I caught it in reruns. I never, I wasn't around when it was.
Same. I'm not that old.
But you watch TNG and stuff like that.
Yeah, that when I was a freshman in college. And I remember driving out to some friend's place when Encounter at Farpoint premiered because we were so excited. We were just so. I mean, it was like, and it was because I went to college at Michigan Tech University, and they didn't have cable in the dorm rooms at the time, so you had to go find someplace off campus, and a bunch of us would drive out there every week.
Wow.
To watch, because Michigan Tech's in Houghton, Michigan, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere, up in the Upper Peninsula. That's my map, and so we would drive 10 miles out of town to watch it, and then every week, and it was just. And I remember it was also the early days of email and stuff, and I remember reading. They released a synopsis of the characters, and I remember reading, Picard and French and all the different characters, and it was like, how are they gonna ever do this? And now it was masterful, so.
Yeah, I take it for granted now how easy it is to catch.
Oh,
all the shows.
Yeah, on stream, yeah, yeah. But yeah, because it would air once, and then, I mean, it was even really kind of before VHSs, especially, and, so you would watch it once, and then that was it. It was in your memory. There's no, let's go back and catch that and freeze frame it. No, it was none of that.
Yeah.
It was none of that.
interesting you'd say that. I guess for the DVD release and everything, next gen, some of the things changed. Like with the Borg, when you saw the readout of like the crew members or whatever, they changed that and changed the names. But originally, when it aired, it was like Troughton, Baker. And it was like the original actors who played Hartnell, who played Doctor Who.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
And it was a little shout out to Doctor Who and, the
cool.
Cybermen or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I've been told. So there's probably going to be somebody who's going to watch this and go, you're wrong.
And they added a whole scene with Jabba the Hutt, too, from what I remember. Right? There was a whole scene with...
Oh, no, I'm talking about Trek.
I know. I was kidding.
Okay.
Do you wish the first Apollo mission hadn't reached the moon? That we hadn't gone on to Mars and then to the nearest star? That's like saying that you still wish you operated with scalpels and sewed your patients up with catgut like your great-great-great-great-grandfather used to. I'm in command. I could order this. But I'm not. Because Dr. McCoy is right in pointing out the enormous danger potential in contact with life and civilizations as fantastically advanced as this. But I also must point out that the possibilities for knowledge and advancement are equally great. Risk is our business.
A little bit of ham.
That's what this starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her. Okay, I had to act a little bit.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
So, it's interesting about working with Shatner and actually seeing, like, the way he actually did these scenes. And you were expecting, like, somebody else, like, somebody who imitates Shatner doing. And every once in a while, like, he would make a move or, like, a voice inflection, and you're like, that's it. That's what, Anyway, so...
Would they direct him? No, you're doing a Shatner impression. Do less. What? No, that's me. I saw his one-man show twice, which, I mean, if you want William Shatner, that's the place to go. And it was William Shatner for 2 hours. I mean,
oh, God.
Just being William Shatner. And, yeah.
I mean, if I got paid, that would be... wait. Yeah.
You said you worked with him? Where on Star Trek or
Generations and on the Star Trek CD-ROM game that had live action. And it was called Starfleet Academy.
Oh, yeah.
And I always wanted
Walter
to play
Koenig
that.
was in that,
yeah,
too.
Walter and George.
Yeah. And Christopher Plummer was in that. Mm-hmm. Right? Wow.
Okay, so this is, once again, for you cosplay people out there, this is the Rubber Mask Grease palette from Krylon. They're a German-American company, and you can get this green. I think it's called 512, and it's kind of a drab green. And that, my friends, is the shading color used for Romulans and or Vulcans. So we'd like to emphasize that inner part of the ear. I'm using a bit of alcohol to kind of thin it down. And so you just... Now, this is the thing. You do not want to use regular cream makeups on prosthetics, especially rubber, like foam rubber and things like that, because those oils will penetrate the prosthetic, leaving the paint looking ashy and dead. So I'm actually going to get painty with it. Once again, the difference between Next Gen DS9 pre-Voyager, things were a bit painty, so some of us who came in started stippling. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in with my LN1, where I made that very painty, and I'm going to kind of haze over it a little bit and make it less painty.
The what was the color of the greenish tint you called that? The Krylon?
I think it's 512. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's a number system. 512 or 512. But I.
And is it? I assume it's green because because the Vulcans around her supposedly had green blood.
Yes.
That's yeah.
Here's a little treat.
Oh yeah.
So, when Mike was discussing, I was going to kill a Romulan.
Mm-hmm.
Every Klingon's fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I also got the job of making the blood for the dead Romulan.
Oh, cool.
And this is what's left over.
Wow.
This is actually handwritten in Sharpie. This is
Romulan blood.
What year did we do Generations? 1995, 6, 5, 4, 4. I don't know. Please check that because
it was the 90s.
Yeah. Mid 90s. Anyway, so yep, that's actual Romulan.
Romulan.
It came out in 94.
Oh, okay.
So you could have worked on it in 93 or...
Okay. God. Seems like yesterday, sort of. Okay, eyes closed, please. Okay, so I'm going in with this green color, kind of theatrically, but trust me on this one, sort of. I think I know what I'm doing. So
when a series regular that normally doesn't have makeup put on, like for some reason that episode they're a Klingon or they're being disguised as another alien, and then consequently they have to show up in the makeup chair. Are they like, hey, this is novel, this is gonna be great, I'm gonna be or are they like, oh, I gotta be there for 5 hours early?
Yeah, most of the non-heavy makeup alien or humanoids, humans, whatever. Yeah, it was dreadful. They're just like, oh God, really? It wasn't like, oh, yippee, I get to, yeah. I rarely ran into fans of makeup on Star Trek.
Okay.
Which is funny, and as the years have passed in my career, I'm finding more and more actors are like, I'm digging this is so cool, and it's like, yeah, but back then it was like, I hate this. And yeah, so now I'm using the LN1, just kind of stippling over and blending out that heavy duty shading I've done.
I've always been a huge fan of Starfleet to the core. That appeals to me. That seeking out new life and new civilizations. I would, look, if I had my druthers, it would be the captain of a starship. It would be.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have to be a human.
But it wouldn't have to be a human. Yeah. Maybe a Vulcan. I think that would be interesting to play a Vulcan, because people commonly mistake Vulcans as having no emotion, but that's not the case. They're just, emotions are suppressed, and they control them, and I think that's an interesting thing to play.
See, I really loved the way Tim Russ went about his character and the way they developed his character, Tuvok. Open your mouth a little bit. There we go. Just gotta get rid of that pink in there. That was it's always a pain. it's weird, like just being on the cruise and stuff and talking about the show and people asking me about things. I'm like, see, being there and I wasn't recording anything.
Right.
And I didn't have time to watch Star Trek. I was there. I was on a space station. I was on the bridge of the Enterprise. I was on planet Hell. You didn't have time. What's weird though? There were people I worked with, and I'm like, so your weekends are basically parked in front of a television set watching like sitcoms that you
catching up.
Yeah, like you recorded, and I'm like, I mean, back then, I would go see movies on the weekend, or I would go hiking Benedict Canyon or something like that, Yeah, I would catch things in rerun.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some episodes I definitely wanted to see that I worked on, and sadly, I would have to wait. Like Blood Oath, that, and All Good Things, and there's just some that were.
What was John Colicos like to work with?
Oh my God, I love that man. Oh my God, it's such a shame he's gone.
Yeah.
My granddad worked on Battlestar Galactica with him, and I don't think I've ever heard anything negative about anyone having an acting experience with that man. John Colicos, was a true actor. I mean, this man just, he had such an amazing career, and he truly Shakespearean. And a very accomplished Shakespearean actor. And I just felt bad because, at this point, he's in massive costume and makeup. And, he wasn't in great health. In fact, all three of the original Klingons weren't. And I felt bad, and I remember talking, to each of the other actors, and they were just like, I don't know why we have to be in all of this. We weren't in this in the original. And I'm like, yeah. And it was hot once again, Yeah. Taking consideration LA in this, late August, September, and you're in, these suits, that have leather and fur and plastic and vinyl and,
Yeah, they were in their 70s and 80s, right?
Yeah. And, it just, I remember on, I think it was a Sword of Kalis. It's the one I did, Rick Pascone's makeup as Turel Duras. And what a great guy to work with. And, John was back for that, and I remember just hanging out with him and, bringing him water and stuff like that. And he was so sweet about it. He's like, no, you don't have to get me. I'm like, no, you should stay hydrated, and, him and I would just sit there and I'd listen to him talk. One of the most interesting fellows you'd ever want to meet.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm flipping this alcohol-activated makeup from Premier Products. This is a light yellow undertone kind of highlight I'm doing just to kind of make it look real and add another bit of dimension to it. This is a special palette that I had Premier Products make for me. It has my name on it, and it's only available through me. Oh gosh, infomercial here, but there's a gazillion different palettes out there. I came out with the feature and the sequel. I have to talk about these because these are really great if you can open them. That's the joke. Anyway, these two palettes are all you need. You don't need to, if you know how to mix color, you've got every color in the world available at your fingertips. Anyway, so if you're traveling, which I do, this is why the palettes were designed the way they were. But if you're doing cosplay, these alcohol colors are great, especially for hand or neck makeup, because it doesn't come off till you take it off. So, once again, if you're doing an Andorian makeup or, anything that isn't a normal humanoid shade, you're making a good Romulan.
Awesome.
You've got kind of a smirk. So, yeah, that's the thing I liked about Romulans. They're so smirky, Like Nonkless on Undiscovered Country. When the president of the Federation or whatever, says, what do the Romulans think? It's like, we don't quite know what to think.
I don't know what to think.
Yeah. I wanted to see more of that character. I liked him.
Yeah, he was great. He just you just got the sense that he was just waiting to see how this played out.
Yeah.
And then the Romulans are going to move in.
Yeah. There was that great Q line when his powers were stripped, and they took him to the brig, and he shouts out at Worf, Romulan. That look Michael Dorn does is so good. Anyway, all right.
My favorite line from Michael Dorn is as Worf is good tea, nice house.
Oh, that was the one where the guy created.
Yeah.
That little patch of land. Yeah. No. Okay, now bear with me. This is not one of those $3,500 Romulan wigs from the show. This is a synthetic wig, and it's wiggy.
All right.
I did my best to trim it and cut it.
It looks great.
So anyway, this is where we would stop. So okay, at like 4:00 in the morning, 4:30. I'd got to this point, and I'd be like, okay, you go off and see hair and wardrobe, and then come back for your eyebrows. And in that time, I would clean my station, maybe go grab a bite to eat, or eat something that I already had that's cold now, or take a nap. Okay, so...
What's the most actors that you would have to do? I mean, or they hire more people if you
hire more people,
okay, yeah.
Depending on what. I mean, that was the other thing. Like, Mike Westmore would test people out, and he would test them out on Bajorans, and like a Cardassian. Let's use the Bajorans as guinea pigs. Now,
he would test them out. You mean like he would say
he would bring people in, and they on big Bajoran days, they would be set up on a sound stage, and with makeup setups, and it's amazing.
And if they could handle the Bajoran makeup, then.
And then they would then they would graduate to like a pre-painted pullover mask that they would have to, and then now I moved through those ranks really quick, and use an adverb, Tom, rather quickly, and so what happened is some of the people who'd been on the show for a while were just like, who's this guy? I'm like, well, I worked prior to this show doing prosthetics, I've got my lace eyebrow. Sorry. Speaking of spirit gum, this is Telesis Spirits. This is made from PPI. This is this is my favorite glue for lace. And this is the regular Telesta Spirits. They make a Telesta Spirits gel, which is freaking phenomenal. I wish I had that earlier on in my career. They also make a matte Telesta, which is a silicone, just like the regular silicone, but it's matte for eyes closed, please. Lace pieces.
Yeah.
The eyebrows makes the Romulan.
That's what they say on Romulus.
Yeah.
The lobes make the Ferengi.
If you get a chance,
Yes.
maybe Scott could pull it up on his mobile device. All right, I got asked to come and work on Star Trek Continues.
Okay.
And I got to do Joanne Linville's daughter, Amy Rydell, as her mother's character
I've seen the pictures.
as the Romulan commander. And what a freaking honor. Shout out to Lisa Hansel for having me on that. Oh my God. It was so wonderful. Like that, being a Star Trek fan, that was a dream come true. I mean, it really was. And then, I got to meet Amy's mother. I can't even talk. And at this makeup convention called IMATS in LA,
Okay.
she came by and sat while I did her daughter's makeup as her character from Star Trek. Anyway, so I found the Romulan national anthem. Can you find that, Scott, on YouTube?
The Romulan National Anthem?
Anthem. It is spectacular, and Amy hated me. She's like, "Stop it! Stop playing that," because I did take it too far. All right, so it's a Romulan, we could do more tweaking around the eyes, I guess, if we so wanted to, which I might be a little inclined to do.
And here we are. Here's our...
Hey, so I just happen to have this nice little coat that's kind of Romulan-esque, It's imperial looking and
I feel like I'm a senator.
Yeah.
In the
there you go.
Romulan Senate.
Yeah. So, but being in the Star Trek world, it would not have buttons. It would magically,
Yeah, it would just magically magnets. Yeah. It would just run your hand over it.
Finished Romulan makeup. For now, like I was saying, I'm going to recreate the dead Romulan from Generations. So we'll be right back.
I want to say, like, first off, I feel like I'm wearing a hat. That's what this feels like. I feel like, because I keep wanting to bring my hand to it and move my hat around, but so it feels very snug, which I think it needs to be. But I just took a really good look at myself in the mirror, and it's kind of, whoop, there's a door. It's strange because when I saw Curtis Romulan in the mirror, I'm like, oh, I know who that guy is. I know who that guy is. And as an actor, you're given the script and you're making your choices and you're looking at all that. But I got to be honest, when I saw myself in the mirror, I'm like, I know that character. So whatever was given, it helps so much to look at this and see who Curtis Romulan is, and
I've had actors who have never wore prosthetics, and they're wearing something, and this is a subtle prosthetic compared to some really big, like Doug Jones thing. Right?
Oh yeah.
Where you're hidden, and you're on stilts, and you're doing all sorts of other things and harnesses and things because, you've got these narrow little hoof legs and things like that, and massive amount of weight here, and there's no way you could actually do that. So they've got like harnesses, cables holding you up in your suit actor jobs, right? So I would have an actor, once in a while sit down, and it's like, I don't even know my face anymore, and I don't know how I'm going to act in this. And I'm like, okay, well, you've got a new face. And I'm like, the best thing you could do is go to your trailer and sit down, look in the mirror, run your lines, and get to know. Because a lot of actors also would be like this. I'm scared to move my face. And I'm like, it's on there. It's now part of your face, It's like, do this, move your forehead. So you can get expressions and everything. So the best thing to do is like be sympathetic to your actors and stuff, because this a lot of times it is new to them, and it's getting to know. Now you're going to have new facial expressions. When you look mad, you're going to really look mad having a brow like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
no. So I part of me wishes I had a scene to do, because like I know this guy, I know who, and that's a testament to what you did and how great this is that an actor can look in a mirror and go, that's who it is. That's who Curtis Romulan is, or whatever the name of my Romulan character would be. Because it's all supposed to help. It's all supposed to help the character. It shouldn't hinder it.
Now, there was a story Mike told me years ago. Mike Westmore.
Right.
Some guy got casted to play a Romulan, and it was for TNG years ago, right? And it's not like Star Trek hasn't been around for a minute at that point.
Yeah.
So he was told, there's going to be, makeup, you're going to have some ears and whatever. And so this is a really light makeup. I mean, this isn't that bad to wear.
No.
So the guy comes in for a costume fitting, and I think probably a wig to make sure that it, they had a size that would fit him correctly, and on the day he gets made up, and halfway through the day he just disappeared. He went to his trailer and packed up, and on the way to his car in the parking structure, he started ripping everything off. And so we're talking lace eyebrows. So that's probably $100 worth of eyebrows. The forehead, I don't know how much Mike charged for a forehead. The ears, that's a separate cost, and then a $3,500 lace wig that he ripped off and threw in a trash bin. Luckily, they found all of it all the way to the parking structure, and they realized this guy just darted. And I'm like, this is
wow.
It's just not very professional.
No.
Yeah. So
I assume they recast him.
Yeah. So
wow, poor guy. I mean, geez, but
seriously, don't take a role if Okay, don't do the crime if you can't do the anyway.
Yeah.
Chin up. All right, so I'm going to have you keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
So I'm getting glue up in that nook there of the brow. So this fits in nicely.
All right.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I actually chewed into the prosthetic on the original, on the film. Once again, how many years ago was that now? Generation?
It was 1958, right?
94.
94, yeah. I mean, so,
close.
yeah.
Close.
Okay.
Do you ever have to work with, like, a special effects person on set to where, like, okay, like for example, this, where it's a situation where they need to do something and then this needs to be... and this needs to appear, to where you have to work with somebody,
like a visual person,
like a visual effects person.
Yeah, on Buffy we had something like that a couple times. Like when vampires would get staked and things like that, and so yeah.
I had to do that once on the Secret Santa, the movie that Amazon Prime, you can rent it, where I got stabbed in the neck with a fork, and it was it was a practical effect, but then the makeup was a plastic fork sticking out of my neck, so I had to walk around for a day with a plastic fork, and the bloody stuff sticking out of the neck, but they had to run a tube from the floor up through my neck, and when I got stabbed, the blood would explode, and it was cold. We shot up in Big Bear, so it was and it was like at 4 a.m. So here I am all drenched, and we're like, all right, let's do it again.
Yeah, so. I did this throat slashing in Timonium, and it was, God, the ground was frozen. So yeah, I know cold, and Lance Baldwin was the actor. God bless him. What a sweetheart. Oh, take after take, and then we had to take him back to base camp and wash him off in a tent with a mix of hot water that was used to make tea and like regular water, and then get him all cleaned up and change his wardrobe and get him. Oh, poor guy. Yeah. So, one of my favorite things right now, I'm gluing foam latex to foam latex. There's just something about the magic of gluing a prosthetic to a prosthetic. they
Now you had to do this makeup. I remember you saying 2 days in a row because because they didn't get to the shot.
Okay, so anyone who has seen Generations, and if you haven't, spoilers, sorry, but it's if you blink, you miss it. It's literally such a quick shot of the dead Romulan, and the actor, I can't remember his name, Gil, can't remember his last name, the sweetest, what a nice guy, and very tolerant of all of this. He actually really enjoyed being in makeup and sitting around with one eye all day, which, once again, as we were saying, it's, sometimes you get actors who, a Bajoran nose was too much for them, but don't go out for sci-fi roles, note to self, right? Anyway, so what happened is we got a call, and I had a reasonably normal call. I think it was like 5:42 in the morning or something like that. Okay, so I go in, and my actor's there, and I've got the pieces, and I get him in makeup, send him off to hair. He gets, the damaged wig, and then he gets wardrobed up, and then I put a little blood on, and then we're going to do more blood on the set. It's not really bloody because, phased energy weapon is going to cauterize most of it. They're not going to. So anyway, we sat around all day. We had lunch, came back, did touch-ups, and that afternoon, late afternoon, we got word saying, we're probably not going to get to this scene. And we're like, oh, you're kidding. And then it was like, we might get to the scene. And so this kind of went back and forth for a while. And then finally it was like, we're not going to get to the scene. Clean them up, come back tomorrow. And ended up coming back the next day, doing it all over again. And yeah, it was.
Did they shoot him pretty quick, or did you still have to wait till the end of the day?
No, he was in makeup for probably, I'd say it was about 2 hours, maybe. Sitting around for about 2 hours, and then it was like, okay, come to set, and we shot it. They did a couple takes of it, and everything, check the gate. Gate's clear. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. It's a wrap on Gil. And anyway, went back, took it off, and it was.
That's great.
It was movie making insanity, So I mean, the actor got another day.
Another day, and he got 2 makeup. I mean, as an actor, I'm thinking, like, I got 2 days out of that. And
Yeah.
You got 2 makeups,
and because of it being a makeup where you're also missing you have no vision now in one eye. I think he ended up getting like a special bump.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So I hope he did. It's been forever ago since that happened. So all right. So I'm gonna go in with some of my prosthetic paint here to.
Did you go on location with Generations, or were you just all the stuff that
No, it was
shot?
all on soundstage. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, yeah, on DS9, I ended up on some of the locations and stuff like out in the desert. And oh God.
Huh.
Nobody wants to do that.
Well, no.
Yeah, it's always a desert planet. Why does?
Because we live in Southern California.
Yeah.
Did you ever work on Brent Spiner with Data?
Here's an interesting story. There was this one episode where Mike needed a hand, and he grabbed me, and I was like, "Yay! I get to do this," and I got to watch Brent on set. And it was great, actually getting to meet him and talk with him, because I followed his career pre-Star Trek. And I think he liked that I was talking about...
Night Court?
Well, actually, like Sunday in the Park, or Sunday in the Park with George, the musical.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like... going on about, oh, God, are we ever going to hear Data sing? And he's like, probably not,
Yeah.
And, this is way before Nemesis. So, but, yeah, I loved him on, all the different things. He was a preacher on a Tales from the Dark Side episode.
Really?
And... it's funny because like Fistful of Datas, like his kind of like hillbilly voice, that's the same voice he did. So
Nice.
yeah. Okay, so I did a bit of charring. I'm just all trying to remember, because it's been...
I mean, it's almost a shame that this, like at the end of I mean, probably not for you because you want to, go home after a long day of being on set, but like this is really a work of art. Like I was looking at it, like I said, I was looking at it in the mirror and then looking at the pictures that Scott was taking. I'm like, it's like doing a puzzle. It's like, I don't want to take the puzzle apart.
Right.
It's like, oh.
Some of the, oh God, some of the makeups I've done on different shows, not just Trek, but,
Right.
Other shows where it's a test makeup day. And you've got all day kind of like to come up with something and, like... And then, they shoot it to see how it's going to read and things like that. And, you might have to go back and do more tweaking. But it's like an all-day affair. And then by the end of the day, you've got this kick-ass makeup. And I was on one particular film where we did this with several makeups. And it would be testing for a couple days with the same makeup. And then they were like, no, we're not going to use it. So it never even made it to the film.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a shame that your art has to come off at the end of the workday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I it just.
I mean, you can take pictures of it, obviously, and it's immortalized, on
It's forever on the screen.
on the screen. But
and you only see it from certain vantage points in the screen too. So okay, there's a bit of bone here.
all right, sure. Oh, cool. But just so the viewers know, I mean, when I looked at this up close in the mirror, I mean, it looked like my face. I mean, there was texture, there was nuance, there was bone structure, there was all of that. So it's. I mean, it's again. I don't mean to keep tooting your horn, but it's truly a work of art.
Toot away.
Yes,
Toot on.
it's just. I mean, just amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's odd because there's certain makeups. I look back too. This is pre-cell phone and things like that. So, a lot of stuff we didn't get pictures of, and I was also really scared to death of losing my job. And Star Trek has always been one of those things where it's like. Yeah, you don't want to overstep boundaries and take pictures and things like that. And so I was always good about that. Some people weren't, but anyway.
Right, yeah, no, I can imagine
those people. Anyway, Anyway, so what happened is, a lot of it's gone. It's kind of memories. Faded.
No, I believe it. Yeah. No, and it's weird because, look, as an actor too, you're just showing up every day going, please don't fire me. A lot of times, and you don't want to get fired for something stupid like, I took a picture. You're like, well, just easy on the social media for a day to keep your job.
Well, back then there was no social media.
Yeah, back then, So.
Yes, there was a world before Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and things. So I'm going to get this blood and dress it a bit now.
All right.
This blood is older than I have an apprentice. And this blood is older than her. That's really sad.
Yeah, on that Secret Santa movie, I had to have mouth blood.
Right.
I had to, which again, I loved it. I was like, no, let's load me up. If I gotta spit up blood, let's go. In fact, I had to do it on the test for Secret Santa, Scott. Remember when we shot that on the day after Thanksgiving? Blood spurted in my face. You had this exploding thing that it would go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When we did the fifth passenger.
The fifth passenger test. Yeah.
Yeah. The whatchamacallit, the.
Okay, so we have.
Can I open my eye or no?
Yeah, you can open your eye. Yeah. So this is what Gil had to walk around with for 2 days.
Wow.
Essentially. So, God, this is kind of weird bringing back memories. Eerie. Weird bringing back memories now. Ooh. I guess it's a good day to die. Oh, God.
I'm the order of the Bartlett, son of Kalis. Your family has no honor, but I couldn't care less. I was born to kill Federation swine, and I celebrate with a barrel of blood wine.
Oh, God. All right. So, finish makeup. And, of course, leave comments and stuff like that, questions. Oh, my God. Sick bay. When to beam up. I'm going to leave your ass behind.
He needs more to pay.
So, yeah. Anyway, Dead Romulan Generations. So.
Cool. Closing thoughts.
Well, this has been fun for me. And I'm sure. I hope. assuming it.
I've had a blast.
Okay.
No, this is great, Tom. Thank
right
you,
in
thank
the
you
eye.
so
Oh,
much.
oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
No, it's for me. It was kind of like finding the mold for the eyepiece after all these years. I just purged a bunch of stuff, and I thought, oh God, did I get rid of it? And I found it. I was like, this would be fun. It would really be fun to do this again. So
no, this is great. And again, being an actor, I mean, this is part of the process. So it's cool. It's cool to do this. I mean, it's fun, and that's why we do it. So it's
well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You
No,
very
I'm
much.
excited.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for attending Virtual TrekCon 3.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Live long and prosper, and no phaser blast to the eyes.
Never believe in the no-win scenario.
Est, est nahe der